All right. Well, thank you. Let's get the meeting started. Thank you very much, Neil, for all your hard work organizing this meeting. I appreciate that. So, as usual, I'd like to start off with our land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Wendat, Anishinaabeg, Haudenosaunee, Chippewa, and the Mississaugas of the Credit. We pay tribute to their legacy and the legacy of all First Peoples of Canada. Today, the traditional meeting place of Toronto is still home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to work in the communities that have grown in the treaty lands. So this is YQNA's 100th meeting, which is quite a milestone after a dedicated run that started in 2003. YQNA has influenced many major developments on the waterfront over the years, and many professional and personal bonds were formed, and we have learned a lot and had very good times together. And I say this with many thanks to everybody who contributed and for the growing interest in our work. I would like to thank Neil Colgrass for being our Chief Technical Officer tonight. He organizes all the technical aspects of tonight's meeting, and I ask him to provide a quick update on how tonight's meeting will run and how you can participate. Neil, over to you.
Okay, yeah, hi everyone. Just a couple of quick things. You probably know that if you click on the view button in the upper right-hand corner, you can view the meeting in various ways. You can see it as just the speaker, the gallery, the multi-speaker is one of their new ones. So you have those options. And if you want to ask a question, we ask you to type the question in the chat window. So if you're on a desktop computer, just click on the chat button at the bottom, and the slide out window will appear on the right, and at the bottom you just type in your message and hit return. If you're on a tablet, tap more and then chat and tap here to chat. And if you're on an iPhone, tap chat and tap here to chat. That doesn't cover all technologies out there, but it should be a good guide for whatever you're using. And that's about all.
All right, thanks again, Neil. Appreciate that. And I will keep an eye on the chat function and try to raise as many of your questions as possible with the speakers, time permitting. And I do ask, though, that we please be respectful in your comments and questions as you have in the past. So I do have a personal announcement. In addition to this being our 100th meeting, unfortunately, it's going to be my last as chair. Due to some family circumstances, I have not been able to dedicate the time that's really necessary to do a proper job as chair. So I've decided that I should step down. We'll introduce Ryan Singh, who's graciously accepted to assume the role of chair. We'll introduce him later in the meeting, and he'll have a few words to say. But I just want to thank all of the folks at YQNA for their tremendous help and support. It's been a great privilege for me to work with them, and I think we've accomplished a great many things, and I've enjoyed every moment of it. So thanks again, and I please hope that you all support YQNA. They do great work, and they're all volunteers. So with that said, let's get on with our meeting. And so our first up is our friends at the City Council in Toronto. I'm not sure that Ozma's here, but I think Tom Davidson will be speaking. Tom, are you
Hi
available?
there. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Angelo, and thank you again for the invitation. And again, just quickly again on the commemoration of this 100th meeting for the YQNA, and just underlining again the strength of the organization in terms of being local advocates for the development of a city that's in a neighborhood that's livable and green, and meets the challenges of our times, and as well contributors to the bigger issues around city council and the debates around policy that make our entire city livable. It's really always been a privilege to work here with chairs present and past, and again on Angelo, on your announcement again, really recognizing your work, and I'm sure there'll be an opportunity to recognize all those specific pieces that been accomplished under this time, but under the immediate time, we can talk about the amazing public realm development that's led to places like Love Park right now. Our continuing work on ensuring development contributes to the vibrancy of the neighborhood. Those all require time and dedication and effort and hours, and I really want to acknowledge that as well too off the top. And so just maybe also quickly, again, some of the ongoing updates that YQNA has been following. We had in the last cycle of council 2 reports come forward on significant issues of concern in the neighborhood. One on an updated report on strengthening regulations around short-term rentals, which of course, represent a significant concern in the neighborhood around the amount of usage of those units out of the stock of general use and the way they've been operated. What we saw is in the last couple of years that regulations have been put in place and still required ongoing strengthening of monitoring, technology, and enforcement and penalties. So a suite of recommendations came forward through committee and city council that were approved last month, including some additional motions that were put forward by councillors, which the deputy mayor was happy to support in terms of strengthening enforcement and examining options for regulating rental brokerage management companies that had been advising hosts on how to skirt city bylaws and more. So this is in addition to the strengthening of or additional resources that was approved through the city budget earlier this year, where more oversight, more bylaw resources have been put to this, where the city is now entering another phase of enhanced strengthening of monitoring of short-term rentals. The other report that's now making its way through the system, which went through Infrastructure and Environment Committee earlier this month, is on micro-mobility. And again, looking at the whole suite of technologies and ways of moving that in a way that could determine which are a benefit for city life and which still represent an issue in terms of safety and not being able to contribute to the way that our city can help people move around safely all together. So the big decision out of that was to not move forward again with a pilot project that is an option for the kick scooters that are seen sometimes on the streets. It did allow for an additional introduction of a pilot for what's called low-speed vehicles, really micro-sized one-unit vehicles that can be used on large campuses like that have been tested at York University and now have been introduced at Exhibition Place that allow for small mobility, minor mobility to move around with electric and low yield vehicles that can still move enough cargo around to be helpful for certain purposes. Then, and a whole framework around defining which areas, where areas, each of these types of uses can be used on bike trails that are painted, bike trails that are physically separated on the roadways. So what that also has come with is a new roundtable in partnership with also major food delivery services that are looking at a roundtable on education, cooperation and coordination around the use of these types of vehicles, which also are being used frequently or throughout the city. And for the entirety of this program as well, understanding that there needs to be some enforcement as well at times around that, and so coordination with Toronto Police Services. So all those are coming together through committee, and will go forward at City Council later this month. On our Reese Street Park, which had a renewal plan being put in place for new design. YQNA, as members of the stakeholder committee, had been advising Waterfront Toronto on what the updated parameters might look like. That feedback is still being reviewed, as well as being looked at between city and Waterfront Toronto and other users and operators and managers in terms of what types of services and programs are in the neighborhood and what might be able to contribute to a new and enhanced park. So all that's going to come together and into a new RFP for a designer that will go through a public consultation process. And certainly YQNA connected to Waterfront Toronto will be directly involved in being communicated when that goes out and throughout that design process, which will be part of a broader public process. We had on the Waterfront LRT, as of last year, late last year, new funding had been advanced to continue the detailed design process for the LRT. That work has now begun after an agreement has been entered into between Waterfront Toronto and the city. So that work will continue and is on track to be completed in 2025, which gets us to the 60% design phase. It's a critical benchmark for being eligible and ready as a shovel-ready project. And the next stage of updating and reporting to City Council will be in late this year on updates on the design and further information on the funding strategy that will be able to get the project implemented. I also, some more questions around, and especially with our friends on the waterfront, around the future of the island airport, which as of a couple years ago had a new requirement in order to implement regulations and physical infrastructure around runway safety. The airport, which is governed by a tripartite agreement between the city, Ports Toronto, Transport Canada. At this time, there are still discussions around what a process might look like in terms of reviewing that requirement and what parameters are required, what approvals are required from in terms of different regulations, and coming to an understanding as to what type of public process will be followed in terms of allowing for a robust discussion on the requests that are put forward, which would be by Ports Toronto. So at this time, it's still under discussion in terms of process, and of course, we expect updates shortly on that in terms of more public-facing discussion. And as always, YQNA will be front and center in terms of that process. I think the other thing I wanted to note just was that at Harbourfront Centre, the ongoing search for the new chief executive officer is continuing. I know we got representation there from Harbourfront Centre here, can speak more to general issues, but that process, of course, which was informed by YQNA's feedback, certainly as it goes forward, the understanding that we need a leader that has expertise in cultural and programming, running a large-scale institution that also is embedded in a neighborhood and coordinates well with the community. So I'll be working further on that, as well as continuing to advance the commitment that was made to an ongoing, reliable community liaison committee and form of engagement with the community. That would, of course, include the YQNA. So that will be ongoing, and we'll continue those updates. I think that was all that I had from the update list.
Right. Well, so thank you very much, Tom. So the issue with on the micromobility, if I could just touch on that, the challenge with some of, I think you call them kick scooters. These are I guess, just the two-wheeled vehicles that are very much like what we used to call scooters. It seems that regulation is kind of nebulous. We're not sure who actually has authority over regulating the scooters on the sidewalks or on the roads or on the bike lanes. And it was told to me that it might be the province, and they don't seem to be taking much in the way of action on proper regulation before the proliferation starts to increase dramatically. We're seeing more and more of these vehicles, and quite frankly, I think they pose a hazard to pedestrians, and because they run silently and they come up behind you quickly. And they can do quite significant damage. Other cities have had similar challenges. I know that Paris had a pilot project with scooters, and they canceled it within a couple of months because there were 2 fatalities, and so they just they reversed course on that. So we should be very careful how we proceed and have proper regulations in place so we can properly enforce these vehicles when they do get on the road.
Yes, no, absolutely. And so, and just, on your question, the province has the authority to regulate or allow for the use of these vehicles on the roads. They introduced legislation that allowed for the municipalities to elect into a pilot project for the use of those types of devices, which the city of Toronto had previously declined, and then just through this recent report in staff affirming staff recommendation, which will go to city council, has also again declined to participate in that pilot project. So then that's the regulatory side of things, and then if there is a need for enforcement, then we need to again coordinate again with Toronto if it's on public streets and roads and byways, then it is through with Toronto Police Services and coordinating that.
Right. All right, Tom. Well, listen, thank you very much. And we will be watching the Reese Street Park developments closely, and we desperately need that LRT up and running as soon as possible. I mean, that really is the future of the waterfront. It'll connect the waterfront across Queens Quay, and it's very vitally important. Any further news on the connection to Union Station from Queens Quay? Like that was something that was put on hold. I mean, they were talking at one time of incorporating that into the LRT project, but somehow it got carved out.
So the approval for funding for the next phase of funding at 60%, specifically funded the design work for the above surface connection from Queens Quay to the Portlands, and so that was the funding that's been approved at this point, which isn't eliminating the need for the connection to Union Station. It was that this piece could be done quickly, and it also could include the consideration of phasing the LRT, which and previously there had been a discussion of ensuring that making sure that there was an east-west connection to Queens Quay West, that would bypass Union Station. So that was the framework around that decision making at this time. But once things going, once it's sort of like when things get going, then the funding and the rationale becomes clearer and more strengthened to be able to develop the design and the implementation for the other piece.
Well, listen, Tom, it's been great working with you, and I greatly appreciate you participating in our sessions. Please give our best to Ozma.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. Uh, Neil, is Chris Glover on the line?
I'm here.
Hey, Chris, welcome. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
I am so sorry to hear that you're leaving the YQNA. Your stewardship has been really, really incredible over at least, I mean, I've known you for 6 years in my role as an MPP, and you've done a phenomenal job every month here.
No, thank you. Thank you so much, Chris. It's been wonderful working with you in your office. It's you're great supporters, and
Yeah.
we're really happy with the work that you're doing.
Well, thank you. Yes, and I mean on your work too. It's not just here. It's with the toy drive, the food program. It's with the creation of FOSTRA, the Federation of South Toronto Residents Association. So, kudos to you, Angelo. Thank you so much. You leave our riding, much stronger, and our community stronger than when you took this position. So, thank you. Can we all give a round of applause, a virtual applause for Angelo?
Thank you, Chris. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you to the other board members of the YQNA. The work is really so vitally important. Now, let's see. I'm going to talk about a few things, and then I'll open it up. So, good news. Well, hopeful news. Let's say hopeful news. So there was a court hearing yesterday. The Ontario Superior Court heard the Ontario Place for All submission, and they are fighting to have an environmental assessment done for the Therma project at Ontario Place. And the government has tried to override their legal requirement to do an environmental assessment with Bill 154, which states basically that this project will go ahead regardless if the government has broken the Heritage Act, the Environmental Bill of Rights, the Environmental Protection Act, or if any minister or agent of the government in making this deal has committed a breach of tort, breach of contract, or act of misfeasance. And misfeasance is abuse of governing power. So the positive thing, and I was talking to Norm Di Pasquale, and he said he felt pretty good about the court case. The judges were asking pretty important questions, which showed that they were not just dismissing the court case out of hand, that they are seriously considering whether the government has the right to retroactively give themselves the power to violate our provincial laws after the fact. So that's what the decision is going to be, and it's a much broader decision than just Ontario Place. This has repercussions, and the rights that we have as citizens to take our government to court when they break the laws that they're supposed to be upholding. Let's see, a couple of other things. For the last 6 migration seasons, I've been working, pushing forward motions and bills to mandate safe windows construction in the province. It has not gone through. It's not legislation yet, but we're going to keep pushing. And we have, every migration period, we have a rally at Queen's Park. The highlight of this this season's rally, and was a video from Margaret Atwood endorsing the bill. And if you haven't seen it, we've got it on YouTube, we've got it on our social media. And the line that she's come up with is no more sickening thuds. That, we want, there's 25 million birds.
Chris, you're breaking up for some reason. I'm wondering if.
Yeah. But I just dismissed it, so it should be. Am I okay now? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think you're okay. Let's try it again.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
The last we
anyways,
heard
so
was Margaret Atwood had a presentation.
Yeah, so there's a video from Margaret Atwood. It's on our YouTube channel, and it says, and the line that she came up with is no more sickening thuds. So no more bird collisions, and we can prevent from Canada in North America. And so we're trying to curb that because birds are for environment. And as most people know, a pair of bald eagles that have nested in Toronto for the first time in memory, and chicks, two nestlings in the nest, which is very exciting. Success.
Well, I think we've kind of lost him.
The other thing I want to talk about tomorrow, I have a motion. Am I coming through clearly still?
I touch and go.
We can hear you. We can hear you, but the video isn't working that well, Chris.
Oh yeah. Okay. Let me move. Let me move to a different location. Okay. How is that now?
Yeah, or another option might be just to turn off the video, Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Sure. Okay. Okay. Can you hear me now?
yeah, your voice is coming through strong and clear.
Okay, that's good. Tomorrow morning, I'm bringing a motion to unveil a new device that's been developed by some U of T engineering students. I've been working on them with them for over the past year on a project to create a sensor that would go on side view mirrors. It would detect bicycles and other vehicles coming, and it would send off a light, a loud sensor, and also it would lock the door handle so that people wouldn't be able to open their doors when a bicycle is going by or another vehicle. So it would hopefully eliminate or certainly reduce the number of doorings in the city. And the number of doorings actually doubled when rideshare vehicles came online. And so part of the mandate is to have these on rideshare vehicles within 3 years, and with the cost being covered by the rideshare companies rather than the drivers, because the drivers are not making much money. Let's see, other things that are happening at the legislature. There's a struggle going on right now. The school boards, all four of our school boards in Toronto have been handed funding shortfalls this year. They're all looking at cuts to staff and programs. We are fighting back. I was at Kensington School for a rally earlier this week. Another note on schools, the government is banning cell phones in schools, which is generally seen as a generally positive move. But I think it's also a bit of a way for the government not to tackle head on the impact of social media and the exposure of social media to children and the mental health impacts that, more and more evidence is showing it has. 4 school boards in the province of Ontario are taking the social media giants to court to look for reparations for the negative mental health impacts that they're having on children. Let's see. I think that's it for me. Yeah, I'll leave it there for now.
All right, Chris. No, that's great. That's good news about Ontario Place, the legal decision. It's wonderful that things are working out somewhat, hopefully. And thanks again for your support of YQNA and for participating in our monthly sessions. It's always great to have you.
Yes, well, it's always great to be here. And again, thank you so much, Angelo, for your stewardship, and to all of the board members for, bringing us together every month. The neighborhood associations in our riding have played such a vital role in the design and development of our communities. And, we would not be the community that we are without you and without all the other members of the YQNA and all of the other neighborhood associations in the riding. So thank you for your contribution.
Thanks again, Chris. Greatly appreciate it.
Okay. Everybody have a wonderful night.
You too. Bye now. Neil, is Kevin Vuong on the line?
No, I'm not seeing Kevin or Diana Ferrari. If either of you are here, please jump into the chat window. But so far, I don't see them.
Okay. So in that case, do we have Naris Rao?
Yes, we do.
All right, so our guest speaker tonight is Naris Rao, and she is the project director at Limberlost Place, George Brown's large wood structure that's currently in the works. She also manages design and construction. She has been with George Brown for many years and has a great overview of all their buildings on the waterfront, as well as their academic and social importance. So welcome, Naris, and thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I'm going to share a presentation, so if you can just, just let me know when you can see it.
Yeah, it's up on the screen.
Perfect. Great. So thank you very much for inviting me on behalf of George Brown. George Brown College absolutely considers ourselves part of the community down at the waterfront, and we welcome every opportunity to speak to associations and other members of the community. So what I'd like to talk about tonight is George Brown's presence at the waterfront and how it's developed over time and the innovation that we're trying to bring to the buildings that we have on the waterfront. I appreciate that Angelo already acknowledged in the beginning the respect that we owe to the previous inhabitants of this land. I will just add that I personally, as someone who builds and maintains buildings, I respect that I have a personal opportunity to be a part of creating meaningful and sustainable buildings that really honor the stewardship of those who inhabited this land before us. And I take that, and George Brown takes that very seriously. Much before George Brown came to the waterfront in 1912, this was apparently what existed at our current Daphne Cockwell Center for Health Sciences at 51 Dockside. And in a much more recent time, you can see the overall scope of Toronto waterfront and Waterfront Toronto's revitalization of this community, which I have so much respect for. When we first started building at the waterfront, we put a shovel in the ground in 2009, and very little of what is here today existed at that point. It was basically us and Chorus in the East Bay front compared to what we're seeing today. And you can see here against what used to exist at the waterfront, what came to be the first two buildings of George Brown College. And that grew to 3, and now it will, of course, grow to 4. The first building was the Daphne Cockwell Center for Health Sciences, which we started in 2009 and we opened in 2012, which was followed by the George, which is our first and currently only, but hopefully not first, student residence, which came through a legacy building of the Pan Am Athletes Games and is in the Canary District. In 2018, we took over 100,000 square feet in the One Lower Jarvis building, the Daniel City of the Arts, and we have our School of Design in that building. A month ago, we signed the papers and we now purchased the Chorus building, which is also on Dockside Drive. And in January 2025, we will be opening Limberlost Place, which I will be talking about later in the presentation. But first, I'll go back to the evolution of George Brown at the waterfront. Many people always ask me, how did a college come to have this really lovely real estate in the city of Toronto. And how did that come about? And really the reason was that Waterfront Toronto was really interested in having a business, having a post-secondary institution that could bring such an immediate influx of people down to the waterfront. When we opened this building in 2012, there were on average, it was pre-COVID, 5,000 people that came to this building on a daily basis, about 3,500 students, and then staff and faculty who came every day to this building. And that was really what we wanted to see at the waterfront. We wanted to see that energy and the dynamic, students coming and taking part in the activities during the day and really starting to revitalize the waterfront. And we started to see that with this building. It is a building that really exceeded the Waterfront Toronto's sustainability framework at the time that we opened it. It was redeveloping a previously abandoned site. It met, of course, LEED Gold, as every building at the waterfront does. And we met the transparency and the ground floor animation mandates for Waterfront Toronto as well. And also, in addition, put in a number of public spaces. We achieved reduced energy consumption through a number of, at the time, very innovative ways, particularly through technology and building automation, which was quite state-of-the-art at the time. We put in occupancy sensors that could use for our lighting controls, for our audio-visual controls, and could even adjust our heating and cooling depending on how many people were in a space, and could turn down the mechanical so we could have a really highly efficient building. Community was built into the way that this building worked. Not just the fact that we have open spaces, which are publicly accessible and rentable for special events by the community, but also the program that George Brown has in this building. The Health Sciences runs a public dental clinic on our 3rd floor. When it opened, it was the largest public dental clinic in all of North America. It had 75 dental chairs, and we've now expanded that to close to 100 dental chairs on the 3rd floor of the building. We also have a hearing instrument program. You can come and get your hearing tested at George Brown in this building. You can get dentures fitted. You can get dental hygienist appointments, dental assisting appointments, all of this within the Daphne Cockwell space at Dockside Drive. In addition, we have wonderful auditorium on the 2nd floor, which overlooks the lake. We have a large lobby in the ground floor, which holds our retail spaces, so food services, which are open to the public. And we have a retail George Brown store, which is also open to the public. If you'd like to support George Brown with some merchandise as you walk along the waterfront. It was mentioned earlier today about the issue we have with birds, which even was recognized long ago when we were building this building. And importantly, that was built into our curtain wall. Our building envelope actually has what we call a bird frit, and it minimizes the birds flying into a building because they can actually recognize the glass. It's got a slight pattern in the glass. And many buildings in Toronto do have this now. So the bird can recognize that this is glass and they don't in fact fly into it, which has been very successful for us in this building. The design of this building and reaching out to the water and bringing Sherbourne Park into the building was a very important part of the design. As you can see here this is a view from the east side of the building, as well as a view through the lobby of the building. Again, as I mentioned, the energy efficiency of the building was very important when we were designing this. We looked at our ability to water retention, rainwater retention. We took great care during construction to ensure that we were protecting the lake and the stormwater system from any construction debris that entered into it. looking at how we could future-proof the building through our building automation, through our lighting, through ensuring that we were maximizing the amount of natural light that we used in the building. And what you're seeing here is one of the lovely spaces that the students use for project work, for hanging out, for having a meal between classes that looks out onto what now is, of course, Sherburne Common and the subdivision which has grown up since we took this picture. And this is just another rendering of that space. This also speaks here to the life cycle considerations we took into account with this building. This is a building that we want to have last on the waterfront for a long, long time, hundreds of years. And we ensured that through the durability of the materials that we use, the durability of the building envelope. And we actually did bring in durability engineers and specialists to ensure that that was going to be successful. In 2018, as I mentioned, we then embarked on moving our School of Design from our King Street campus down to the waterfront in the Daniel City of the Arts. This is a really exciting space to have in a vibrant community. It supports around 1,100 students in 100,000 square feet. But it mainly is a lot of incubator space, innovation exchange space, space where George Brown really works with the community and with business and with industry and forms partnerships where the students are actually doing projects for industry, projects for the community, training for the skills gaps that we're seeing in the industry so that they can be very job ready when they leave George Brown, that they can have had these experiences working with these businesses that come to George Brown. They bring projects to George Brown, issues, problems, they bring them to George Brown, and our students work on these as projects with the companies. And we built the Daniel space to reflect that. We have the digital media and gaming incubator. We have specialized labs for AI, for VR, and we have a large industry training center. And as well, we have currently in this building, the Brookfield Sustainability Institute, which will subsequently move to Limberlost when it opens. The Brookfield Sustainability Institute is a George Brown research institute, which is focused on climate change solutions. And currently it's working in partnership with industry and business in the Daniel space. This is a picture of our students working in the Innovation Exchange. Sorry about the typo in exchange there. As I mentioned, business and industry come into this space with their problems, and they work with the students to implement solutions and research and development, which actually get used in business with the companies that we work with. Now I want to spend most of the time on Limberlost Place, which is, of course, our newest building at 180 Queens Quay. So it's just on the north side of the Center for Health Sciences at the corner of Queens Quay and Sherburne. We started construction on Limberlost in August of 2021. We worked through our building permits by September of the next year. And the first mass timber came in the fall of 2022. We installed a mass timber bridge between the two buildings in March of 2023. We'll be commencing our own interior fit out this month, and we're assuming and targeting substantial performance for November 2024, and then building occupancy for 2025. These are some pictures of construction showing the mass timber. Limberlost Place is a 10-story mass timber building. And as such, it will be, when it opens, the tallest institutional mass timber building in Canada. Of course, the assembly use, the institutional building code is much stricter than residential or office. So we are seeing mass timber being used in office buildings and residential to higher than 10 floors already. But for an institutional building such as ours, this will be the first in Canada. And these are pictures that show some of the structure with the mass timber. The mass timber came in from Quebec. We had a facility on commissioners where the mass timber came in, sequenced very carefully to be brought into that site for when we needed to bring it to the construction site. And it was basically last in, first out, so that we would have just-in-time delivery to the site of the timber that we needed that day. This, you can start to see it started to take shape. We've actually now closed in, and we've removed the crane, and we are now working very fast on the interior. This is a picture of the mass timber bridge being constructed. It was actually constructed in the outdoor space of what will be our childcare center, and then lifted into place between the two buildings. It's currently the longest mass timber bridge at height in all of North America. It's a picture of the bridge going into place. This shows you a section of what the building will look like when it's in place. And what I'm highlighting here is the number of social spaces that we have in the building. Again, publicly accessible. Our buildings are all publicly accessible as a community college. And also social spaces for the students on every floor, on the east side and the west side. We have what we call breathing rooms, where the students can go and they can study together, or they can have some quiet time, or they can work on projects, relax, and we'll be furnishing those in all different types of ways for students to find a space that works for them. You can see another example of the breathing rooms up through the building. And I'll talk a little bit about what you're seeing here in this picture, which is the solar chimneys, which is a very innovative way that we've designed to bring natural ventilation into the building. Example of some of the spaces. George Brown went out for an RFP for the design of Limberlost, and we specifically asked for mass timber. It wasn't that the architects came back with mass timber as a solution. It was that George Brown went out to market, and we said, this must be a mass timber building. And there was a lot of reasons behind that. I like to say that Limberlost embodies the George Brown strategy in many ways. One of those pillars, of course, is sustainability. And we know that it's also very important to the students who are coming to George Brown, that George Brown really walk the talk of sustainability, that we're actually making moves towards decarbonization across our campuses, which we are. Limberlost, of course, will jumpstart that in terms of the building itself when it opens, but we're also bringing on consultants to help us develop plans for energy sustainability across our campuses and decarbonization across our campuses, as well as water management. So we take sustainability very seriously at George Brown, and we know that our students do. Recruitment, obviously, is a pillar of any post-secondary institution strategy, and George Brown is no different. But we also recognize that we owe to the students to create and develop spaces that promote health and well-being, promote mental health for the students that are coming into George Brown, and really ensuring that we're designing spaces that work for them and work for our staff and work for the faculty. In terms of research and innovation for George Brown, Limberlost, when we decided to create this very future-thinking building, we made a commitment that we were actually going to use Limberlost as a tool to prove that mass timber could be a tool towards fighting climate change. And to that end, we have basically invited the world into Limberlost to see what we're accomplishing here. We have currently done almost 250 tours of the building. And I'm very grateful to our contractor who has allowed that, which, as you can imagine, on an active construction site, that's not an easy thing. We have had engineers, we've had architects, we've had many politicians, we've had many planners, international planners. We had the Tokyo municipal government planners, for instance, not too long ago. We had the C40 conference, which is a conference that is the sustainability directors of international capitals around the world, and they toured Limberlost. We've had Woodworks USA tour Limberlost, as well as many of the developers, both from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and internationally. And they've been coming to Limberlost to see what you can do with mass timber. We have in Toronto and Canada, in most countries, we have targets which are being developed for sustainability, for decarbonization, and mass timber will certainly be a solution that you'll start to see because of those targets. But I very much believe that while targets are one way to get us there, education is really the other, and selling the solution and selling the mass timber as a tool for climate change, and getting even developers to buy into this. George Brown, as a post-secondary institution, has very different decision-making drivers than perhaps developers do, for instance. And that's one reason why we felt that we could start to move forward with a building as innovative as this and really use it to show the industry what we can do with mass timber. So as I mentioned, it is mass timber with a steel core. It is 10 floors. It is net zero carbon emissions, which is of course driven by the mass timber. It will meet close to platinum, but it will meet LEED Gold certification. It will be, when it opens, the first building to meet the Toronto Green Building Standard for Tier 4. So that's the 2030 standard. And when we open in 2025, we will have met that. It has a green roof. It has photovoltaic panels on the roof. It uses district energy for both heating and cooling. I believe it is the first low carbon building to be both heated and cooled by on-wave district energy, although there's many that are currently being cooled. We were very careful in our design to ensure that we could bring as much natural light into the spaces and use natural light as much as we could. All of the classrooms are around the periphery of the building, and the lighting systems are designed that with the sensors, the lights will only come up when the daylight no longer is filtering into the room. The design allows the light to come in as far as 10 meters into the room and cover most of the spaces till much later in the afternoon. We have a very high performance envelope, which is designed not just for durability, but for also energy effectiveness and sustainability. I mentioned the green roof, and we also have a very innovative natural ventilation solution. We have what we call solar chimneys on both sides of the building, and these actually allow the building up to about 50% of the year, climate allowing, to operate passively without our systems. And these solar chimneys basically act as hot air balloons, and they can bring up hot air through the building and they can distribute it through the building, or they can take hot air out of the building and help to cool the building. So we're very proud of the natural ventilation that we'll be able to use in this building, as opposed to using our systems all the time. There is no gas-fired appliances in this building at all. We only use the natural ventilation and the district energy. We also, as I mentioned, we have a district energy, we have rainwater harvesting, and we have radiant ceiling panels in the building as well. I usually take questions at this point. I don't know if that's possible, or if someone is, if there's any questions in the chat, I'm happy to answer them.
Yeah, no, there are quite a number of questions in the chat there, if you don't mind. So,
Of course.
The cost of mass timber versus concrete and steel, how does that compare?
So there is, sorry, I'm just trying to, so I count. There is still a premium on mass timber to some extent over other materials, but what we're seeing is that we can make it up in the schedule. So we put in our first mass timber slab band in October of 2022, and we were closed in August of the next year. That's incredibly fast for a 10-story building. And during that time, we could place those slab bands with only about 6 people on site. Basically, you had the crane operator, you had 2 carpenters who were putting the piece in place, and then a few other people on site. So you can make up the premium based on schedule and resources. The other thing we're going to see over time is that right now, some of the premium of mass timber comes from the building code. The building code is still making us encapsulate or cover much of the mass timber with drywall, with fire-rated drywall. That's where the building code is at the moment. So there's a huge cost to, of course, building in mass timber, but then covering it in the drywall solutions. So as the building code continues to evolve, and we're very proud of the fact that we have shown the politicians and the planners Limberlost, and we do believe that that has started to drive some of the building code changes that we've just seen even recently, that we're now going to allow 18 floors with mass timber, for instance. So as it evolves, we will start to see the premium on mass timber come down. And as well, we're starting to see an increase in the companies who are actually manufacturing mass timber. And of course, that will start to drive down the price as well.
Now some of the mass timber pieces are quite large. Do you bring them in by land or by sea, by water?
So we use Quebec timber, so they're coming in by truck. There are projects in previous years that have brought it in from Europe, but I think that was just based on the Canadian industry not having evolved yet to be able to supply. I think the Canadian industry is now expanding to the point that we have manufacturers even in Ontario now, and so we're going to be able to see them coming from smaller and smaller distances.
Excellent. And in terms of, you mentioned that when you're talking about your other buildings, durability, how would mass timber compare in terms of durability to
It's equal. I'm sorry.
To concrete and steel.
To concrete and steel. It's equal or longer. I mean, I think we probably all know the old wood buildings, some of which we still see standing today. It is an extremely durable product. And also, when you look at Limberlost, and I'll answer this question just in case someone asked it, because practically always does ask the question about fire. We did design this structure. So there's what I would call 7 layers of mass timber in our pillars and in our slab bands. Only 4 of those are structural. 3 of them are what we call a char layer. Should this building ever catch fire, it would actually just char the way a log on a fire does. It chars and it burns itself out. But also the structure of the building being so large with some of these columns also ensures the durability of it as well. And I'm seeing a question about the weight of the pillars. We actually have what is still the largest mass timber column in North America at the moment. It's 23,000 pounds and 3 stories. It's in the northeast corner of our building. So that's an anomaly, but that is the size of some of the pieces that were being shipped.
So a very important question: does your dental program accept the new federal dental insurance?
Ooh, that's not a question for me, but I am actually happy to find out and let you know.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah,
absolutely. We so we have in our dental program dental hygienists, dental assistants, denturists, and dental technology students. And of course, the dental assistants and the dental hygienists and the denturists need lots of patients to graduate. They have requirements that they have to meet. So I'll put in a plug here. We are always looking for people who are willing to come to the clinic, because it can sometimes be hard for the students to find clients to meet their requirements to graduate. So I am absolutely happy to find out more details about a dental clinic for the group.
Yeah, you get a lot of walk-in business from the waterfront, that's for sure. There's a comment here about you mentioned about your bird safety with glass, but is it possible do you turn off the lights at night during the migration period to prevent the birds from crashing into the window?
Yeah, so both actually I would say all of our buildings. Actually, I shouldn't speak to Chorus right now. I'm not as familiar with Chorus, but the Center for Health Sciences and Limberlost and Daniels are all on occupancy centers for the lighting. So the lighting is based on the occupancy of any one space. So if there's no one in that space, the lights come down, other than for emergency life safety. So we can pretty much bring the lights down anytime we want, and we do for an energy efficiency perspective.
Excellent, yeah. And so you mentioned the Chorus building. Do you have any particular plans for that building? Are you looking to consolidate some of your other campuses? What's the future for the Chorus building?
So George Brown is actually currently undertaking a master campus plan. So that looks at all of our campuses. We have, as the group may know, a campus at Casa Loma, campus on King Street, and then of course the waterfront campus, which is the fastest growing at the moment. So we're looking at what we want to do with all of those spaces and which programs we want to grow and where we want to locate them. Chorus, we do consider a longer term strategy. Chorus has a lease in the building. And so they may remain there for a number of years. So that gives us actually time to complete the campus master plan and decide what buildings would be most valuable to put in that building or fit, most into that building. Of course, they do have amazing data centers and studios that we would perhaps love to use for some of our own media programs, but it's a little bit of a longer term solution for us.
Well, thank you so much, Nerys, for joining us tonight, and congratulations on the innovation that you're bringing to the waterfront. Limberlost is quite something that'll make us very proud here in Toronto, I think, and hopefully it'll start a trend, perhaps, in construction.
We very much hope so. Very much hope so. Yes.
Well, thanks again for joining us tonight. All the best.
Thank you.
All right, Neil. So I think next up we have Massimo Di Maria from Harbourfront. Is he on?
He is here.
Hello, everyone. Good evening.
Well, thanks for joining us. How are you?
Thank you. I'm very well. Thank you. Thank you for having me as usual, Angelo. And I'm sorry to hear of the news, but I hope that it means great things for you personally.
Thank you, Massimo.
And welcome to Ryan. So I do have a little bit of a slide deck that I would like to bring the group through. So if I can share my screen. I need that access, please.
That should work now. Just unlocked it.
All right, let me know if that works.
There we go. You're up and running.
Wonderful. Okay, and everyone could see that pretty well?
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay. So we're going to basically be walking through three kind of things I want to give an update to. So the summer highlights, what's happening from May to October at our campus, a little bit of a safety and security update, and then some infrastructure updates and things that are happening on our property that people might want to know what's going on. So summer is here. we are going to be freshening up our building. You're seeing some slides here with some screens that they're going to be putting up. We have a brochure that has come out. It is available in our lobby. It was mailed out to, I believe, our donors, anyone on our mailing list. So there's every program for the whole summer is available in there. Welcome to please come on in and grab one if you haven't seen one yet. So for our 50th, this is our 50th. We have a, well, we're calling it Special at 50. So on June 1st, we're kicking off with a block party. This is we're going to have a Canadian alternative country band. His name is Elliot Brood. And I hear wonderful things. If you have time to go on YouTube, you can kind of get a flavor of what that's going to be like. We have all sorts of family-friendly activities planned through the day. There's going to be a chance to sing on the stage for anyone who is brave enough, but you could do that by the lake. And we're going to have a live karaoke by Good Enough that will be actually hosting that for us this year. We have a free social line dancing classes. So welcome to people who like to join and participate. And of course, it wouldn't be a block party without some festival food, some street food and drinks. And it wouldn't be a birthday without a birthday cake. So we'll have some cake on hand for people to enjoy. Then that's running on June 1st. And from the 25th to August 27, we are bringing back Free Flicks. This is every Tuesday in the summer between the 25th and August 27. So this is, basically your opportunity to watch some very popular old classic movies, popular films with some popcorn and drinks. You see an image there of when it was once done last, and we're looking very much forward to seeing people up by the waterfront enjoying the movie, it's always a nice sight. And then on July 10th to August 28th, we have Dancing on the Square. Used to be called Dancing on the Pier for the folks that have been in Toronto long enough to know. This is live dancing with a really eclectic lineup of Latin, Bollywood, hip hop, and contemporary dance. So you have an opportunity to practice it with professional instructors, and you could learn it, I should say, and then you actually get to do it with everyone else. So we hope to see people out and enjoying the waterfront and the activities. What the brochure has in it is the next slide is the schedule at a glance. It's actually over 2 slides. There's a lot going on this year. As you know, the power plant has opened up their exhibit. If you haven't had a chance to go look at it, it's beautiful. I recommend you do. Craft and design exhibitions are already happening, and that started on the 11th. So you can see those right through all our vitrines and in the gallery itself, in the main building. And starting this on the 18th, this weekend is Junior. This is a 3-day festival for families and children, for music, theater, dance, and workshops. This is a very exciting time to see all the children out there. I was out there today because it's Forest of Reading, and the stage was activated. The kids were dancing and along, and it was very, very alive, really fresh and exciting to see. Put a smile on my face. I did a little post on that because I thought that was fantastic. And in June, you can see there's the lineup of the block party, a halal fest. I'm not going to read every single one here, folks, but we had a tribute to National Indigenous Peoples Day, so we have some activities around that as well. Summer music in the garden. So there's June, July, and August is jam-packed. And I'm going to go to the next slide. These are just some cultural festivals that are happening on our property as well. So I think that and I'm sorry if I'm going too quick, I'm happy to drop these 2 slides, if you like, in the chat for people if they want to have this as a handy guide. Or you go to harborfrontcenter.com/summer and take a look at what's happening on our campus. So we are now actively planning for the fall into December. So even though this is all happening, but we're pedaling like calm like a duck at the top, pedaling like crazy underneath. So we're looking forward to that lineup. Safety and security. The total number of security incidents on our campuses was 367 for the last 4 months, from January to April. Kind of the top 2 suspicious activities and disturbances were 69, and we had a significant amount of property damages, unfortunately, that I think some of you are well aware of, some of the facilities that have been damaged. And we also had break-and enters and thefts in our parking garages and in our building proper. We've actually broken into our restaurant, was broken into. So there's a lot of activity, unfortunately. So far in 2024, we've seen a spike in Toronto, as I'm sure are all aware, for major crimes. This is kind of the statistics that are showing. Assaults were up 10%, break and enters were up 18.5%, homicide 47%, robberies 21%, sexual violations up to 11%. So we're trying to do our part, what we can with the resources we have. This puts a big strain on our police services for sure. So we know we can expect longer response times. This is the nature of the business. So what we've been trying to do in our efforts is educating our staff on risk reduction techniques, including working in pairs. We always having access to radios or cell phones, and practicing situational awareness is something that's super important that we all should always practice. So we will be reporting to any high risk concerns or incidents to our neighbors when it's appropriate, of course, and when we can. But if we have things that are high alerts and we think that there's danger, we will be reaching out to make sure that people are advised. And we are increasing our security patrols in key areas in a very targeted approach. So we identify where these things happen. We really try to be more visible in those areas at the times that we see these incidences occurring, which, quite frankly, have even been a lot recently during the day. So they've been very bold. So sorry that sounded very negative, but there are some positives. We're trying to make some headways there. I think I mentioned in the last update that we had activated all the lights. We had replaced all the burnt out bulbs along the boardwalks. And we did a lot of work to get those up and running to help with visibility. And we do have cameras in key locations as well. The Toronto Police many times will reach out for us for footage. So the Reese Street parking lot is yes, it's going to be a park, but in the meantime, it's a very difficult parking lot to maintain. And just to kind of let you understand, we're not trying to ignore it. We are trying to do what we can within our means. This past winter, we had removed over 400,000 liters of rainwater that was not draining. We had cleaned out all the drains in the sewers. I think I have a photo of the next one where we actually had a truck pumping it out. And because we thought that the clog was in our sewers, unfortunately, that's not what we found. We found that the problem is in the infrastructure that's failing towards the building that's west adjacent to the parking lot. We put down 20 tons of crushed recycled asphalt to repair where the ice had built up and damaged and created big potholes, and so that we kind of went level to the sewers. So when we found out what was happening, we involved the city. The city was very responsive, came out 7+ times. Right now, they've acknowledged that there is an issue. They're doing their due diligence with their designers, developers, and the city departments that are going to look at the drain construction, and so that they can complete an effective repair. In the interim, we're going there when there's heavy rainfall and trying to pump out that water. That's really the best we can do to try to mitigate some of those issues. And of course, for us, not having parking spaces available to us is a huge revenue loss. So it's safety, it's unsightly, and it's something that's important to us. So we're trying to do what we can to keep up with that infrastructure. The docks, so along York Slip, on the east side of the terminal building, that's 207 Queens Quay West. We commissioned a 110-foot new dock along that slip, where the Queen City Yacht Club, the Toronto Island Marina, and the Toronto Harbor Water Taxi Services, we did a collaboration with them. So it's we're pretty excited about that. And there's a second southern pedestrian ramp that's going to be added at some point. They're working on it. Additionally, Marina 4, that's between Amsterdam and our main campus where the concert stage is. We commissioned 170 feet of new docks at that marina to replace aging infrastructure. Quite literally, most of the winter we were retrieving it from the lake. 80 feet of new dock was connecting the west wall has also been installed, and 70 feet of docks were replaced in 2 sections on the east end in the fall. We do have, that's 70 more feet that we're going to replace in the fall. We just weren't able to get it all done in one swoop, unfortunately, as the boaters are coming in, and we were dealing with the aging infrastructure. I think that marina is looking pretty sharp with most things. That's kind of what we've been working on the background. Of course, the campus and all the construction is now complete on our site. There's some deficiencies, like most projects. There's always things that we go chase, but we're pretty excited about the summer ahead. And that would take me to the end, Angelo. I hope I didn't go too fast.
No, that's great. No, thank you, Massimo. So a few questions. So firstly, congratulations. I was very pleased to see that the federal government in the recent budget set aside some funding for Harbourfront, shows their commitment to continue supporting you. So I think it's 10 million over a couple of years to help you with some of those repairs and good status. So I'm very happy about that. Congratulations. And I'm also very happy to see that the movie nights are back, and that the dancing on the pier. I was a big fan of those 2 things. I thought they were great community builders, and it's lovely in the summertime to go outdoors. Reminds me when I used to go to the old drive-ins. You don't see the drive-in anymore.
No, you don't. Unfortunately, I associate with that. I do understand them. But yeah, no, I appreciate that very much. It was a lot of work to get that support, and it took a village to get the federal funding and a support from the community, support from it came from all levels in this group and abroad. So it was a lot of work. We're happy to have it, and we're prioritizing the burning bridges, if you will.
Yeah, and so we want to help you with that, because we think that it's important to have not just these one-off funding and exercises by various levels of government. I think you need a continuous, dependable source of revenue, that you can rely on to run your operations effectively, and instead of having to continuously go to government on bended knee asking for money. I think that's important. It's important to be able to run an organization knowing that you have the source of funds to do it. So we're happy to help you with that.
Appreciate it.
So there's a couple of questions in the chat. One is about the Amsterdam Bridge. Is some of that money going to help to replace or deal with the bridge?
It is on our list, and it is an item that we want to talk to the city and open that dialogue to see what support, because it's more than just repairing a bridge. Infrastructure like a bridge takes hundreds of thousands of dollars to maintain, and bridges, have to be certified every 2 years. Bridges have to be maintained. There has to be divers and studies, etc. So it's not just repair. Then there is the upkeep. So and that we need support, right? So it's a big piece of infrastructure, and we're definitely opening that conversation.
And so, Causeway, the 245 Queens Quay West has been vacant for a while. I know that you've been working on finding a tenant. Is there anything you can share, or is it still premature?
We do have a tenant. They're a little bit behind because they're waiting on permits to move to their next segment. They did receive a demolition permit for interior space. So if you look through the windows, you'll see that it's pretty much shelled out at this point. I can tell you that it is going to be a premium casual restaurant. They've shared with us some designs now, and it is beautiful. And I really hope that they get the support to bring forward their ideas. I think that we're going to be all very happy to have a restaurant of that magnitude in there. I don't have much more I can give you at this point. They did have or do have a marketing plan to kind of come out with that information, but I think that they're just waiting for permits in order to kind of get over this next hurdle.
Well, that's good news. So that's some more funding for Harborfront.
Oh, that's a significant piece for us. Yes, absolutely. Since that fit out is done. Yeah.
And what about the old coffee shop on Ontario Square? Is that leased as well, or?
So that's we refer to it. Proper address is 225 Queens Quay. It is the former Lavazza. I think we're referring to the standalone 3-walled glass building. We have a few LOIs that we're entertaining at the moment. There's been some good traction. For this summer, our restaurateur, the Boxcar Social, will be activating the space so that there will be activity and it won't be an empty box. And then we have weekend activations with our development department. So there's going to be activity all summer long. And our hopes is to have someone start fitting it out in the fall. So we're actively working on those LOIs. So I can't really say much more than that.
Yeah, and so this being my last meeting, my last chance to ask you this question, any plans for a skating rink?
It wouldn't be the right, oh my gosh. So we are very interested in bringing a skating rink, and one that repeats itself every year. Angelo, the message hasn't changed. We need a funder, we need a supporter to make that happen. But we're knocking on doors. Just yesterday, I had a conversation with a company out of Quebec to see if they can bring some people forward, and they felt pretty hopeful. So it is something that we're working on. Any news about the CEO? I'm sorry, I really can't speak to that. There's a committee that's formed, and they're interviewing at this point. I saw that pop up on my screen. I don't know, it just disappeared. So I'm sorry, I don't know who that was. But yes, I don't have anything more than that. We're talking about my boss, so I don't know what to tell you.
All right. Well, listen, thank you so much for joining us tonight, Massimo, and hopefully you'll continue to join us, even though I won't be here.
I'm happy. I'm happy to. I'm
All right.
happy.
Thanks again. You take care.
Cheers, you too. All the best to you.
All right, Neil, I think Tim Coker from the Waterfront BIA is up next. Is Tim on the line?
Hi, Angelo. Hopefully you can hear me okay.
Yeah, you're coming in loud and clear, Tim. Welcome.
Excellent, thanks. I'll try to be fairly brief. I'm not on the screen here. First, I just want to say thanks to Angelo. It's news to me that you're leaving, so it's sad to me. I just wanted to say that we always found these meetings. So I came from another BIA business association that didn't really have active resident groups in the neighborhood, so I really wasn't sure how to engage with the residents at first. But remember, once I started going to YQNA meetings, and then later on, when they started the EWCA, I kind of consider it like appointment viewing. Like I need to be there because I actually learn things about the neighborhood, even though I have a full-time job in the waterfront. You guys have always done an incredible job of having agendas that are like highly relevant. And you're essentially breaking news on these meetings. So I have to give you credit. That's Angelo and Carolyn and Ula, and now Ryan Singh. I look forward to hopefully meeting you soon. I know you're in touch with us on some police issues, so hopefully I'll meet you in person. And Angelo, I hope I'll still run into you in the neighborhood.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And so in terms of actual updates, I think, well, first, I just want to say shout out to Hartford Center Massimo. That was an excellent update. And I don't have too many things to highlight except some cool events that I really want to encourage people to be excited about. I think that doors open in 2 weeks on May 25th, 26th. Sounds like it's going to be pretty excellent on the waterfront. I know Redpath is opening their sugar building again for the first time, at least since the pandemic. And then the island airport's going to have a pretty significant presence. They had so many people last year that apparently they're even expanding on like how much they'll allow the public to go and see on that weekend as well. So please check that out. And then on the Saturday of Doors Open, there's also, I don't know if it's kind of gotten around yet, but the Friends of Hanlon's group on the islands has announced that with support of BIA and some others, they're going to be painting that weekend. It should be done. They're going to be painting, quote unquote, the world's longest pride flag on the walkway from the Hanlan's ferry to the Hanlan's beach, sort of as a recognition of the queer history and importance of that neighborhood. And so BI was really excited to do this. It sounds like it's quite quasi-public now, but that Saturday, May 25th, I assume you'd probably see the mayor and the deputy mayor there for that unveiling. So hopefully the YQNA will be invited if they want to attend that party, essentially, to announce that new walkway. Other than that, I want to highlight again, I think Massimo mentioned it, but the Harborfront Center is doing a very community-focused block party on June 1st. I think we really want to encourage lots of people to get out and kind of experience Harborfront Center in ways they haven't. And I should also give a shout out to the power plant that has a new exhibit the last 2 weeks. So the power plant gallery is of course free. So just wander in on the days they're open and go check out their new exhibit. And Angelo, I think I just want to, I guess maybe I should use this as a way to try and connect with Ryan, but we're going to be on the next agenda for the East Waterfront Community Association to do a sort of overview of all the different events the Waterfront BIA sponsors and supports and helps to bring along. And the reason why is because there was the MPP Glover organized a meeting with just that one building, Pier 27, about events. And I figured like that's not necessarily the right forum to be talking about events. And it made me realize that maybe we're not briefing you guys on a regular basis about what our sort of event sponsorship strategy is and what the events are. Because I think like not always doing events specifically for residents, but I think some of them we certainly want the residents involved. And we certainly welcome your feedback on how we can try and help get residents out more, especially in times like the winter and things like that. And because I think it would help us a lot if we understood better what the residents would like to see in certain parks, especially like Sherburne Commons East and HTO Park. I mean, the YQNA is in like the busier part of the neighborhood, but we appreciate your feedback on other parts as well. So I might reach out separately on that just to see if you guys are also interested in a briefing, like as an agenda item soon. So I usually don't try and take up too much of your time, but if you want to actually give us an agenda time to present, I would bring my marketing director and operations director to actually understand like the details of everything to answer questions and things too.
Yeah,
Thanks,
no,
Angelo.
I think that would be wonderful, Tim. I certainly think YQNA would be very open to that and working with you on that as well. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
All right, Tim, thanks again for joining us. I think I'd like to go to Carolyn Johnson. Neil, is Carolyn available? Carolyn is our treasurer. I just wanted her to give us an update on our finances, if possible.
Hi.
Hi, Carolyn. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Angelo. This is your swan song, I guess, eh?
Yeah.
We've worked together for many years and it's been good. Yes, I was asked this afternoon to just give a quick treasurer's update. We have not had many expenses. The main thing is funding the website and funding the Zoom meetings. So we spent $436 over the last quarter doing that. The website funding runs for the whole year, so it's a kind of an upfront cost. The rest of it is ongoing, and Neil very kindly actually pays all these things, and we have to reimburse him. So as of the end of April, our bank balance was $2,156 and change. So we're looking good, but more money is always welcome because you never know what might come up that someone asks us to fund. Thank you all for your donations. When they come in, we had a very generous person give us $50 just today. Thank you.
No, thanks. Thank you very much, Carolyn.
All the best to you, and all the best to you, Angelo. And we shall miss you, but I'm hoping that we can get along very well with Ryan when he starts up. Thank you.
Yeah. No, thanks very much, Carolyn. It's been a pleasure working with you as well. Thank you for all your help.
Thank you.
So that kind of brings me to just a reminder that we all are volunteers, and I think you heard tonight from many of our guest speakers the importance of having a strong community association. I think it helps to ensure that the community remains a strong and friendly and safe and lovely place to live and work, and so that's really what YQNA is all about, helping to ensure our community remains one of what I think the best places in Canada to live. And so your donations are greatly appreciated. We do need to build a little bit of a war chest. Yeah, you never know when litigation is going to hit the fan, or we have to engage lawyers in some of our causes. So please volunteer. We're always looking for help in our activities. So volunteer and join us. It's a great place to meet folks and make new friends. I certainly have in my years with YQNA, and your donations are always very much appreciated. So I'd like to welcome Ryan Singh now, who's going to take over in my role as chair. So if Ryan, you might join us and say a few words and let folks folks know when the next meeting is going to be.
Before I delve into what I have to talk about, I actually want to invite two folks to say a few words about you, Angelo. Ula and Ed are both on the line. Ula, did you want to maybe go first?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Although it is, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Ula. Thank you.
Okay. It's with mixed emotions, Angelo, that this is your last night as chair. And after all, it's only 7 years ago that you appeared at a meeting at the Radisson in person, a meeting like tonight. And we needed a new chair. And we asked people to volunteer. And this nice looking gentleman put his hand up. He was new to the neighborhood and to YQNA, but he seemed pretty smart and reliable enough. So that was the start of the reign of Angelo Bertolas. So you led us through many meetings with waterfront triumphs and crises, meetings with politicians and planners, and always with resolve and kindness. So I hope you will stay in touch with YQNA, even as a bystander. And thank you so much for everything.
Thank you, Ula. Thank you very much.
I'd like to invite Ed, or is he still on the call? I believe I saw him there.
think he's here. There's an Ed who I just unmuted. I don't know that it's the same Ed, so I'll text him and see if he can step in.
No problem. Oh, he said wrong, Ed. Okay. I'm pretty sure Edward will send his thank yous to Angelo. I know we are all grateful, Angelo, for your work here in the community. I am and you are a volunteer, and when I approached you about joining, you you welcomed me with open arms. You said we needed some quote unquote young blood in the organization, and it's been a pleasure working with you and learning with you. We know community work, especially as a volunteer, is extremely thankless. I can tell you this because I've done this a few times, but building a community association is not just important, but that work goes unnoticed. So, Angelo, your work and your advocacy has made our community a better place. Now, in the role as chair, and on behalf of the entire team, and on behalf of all your neighbors along the waterfront, we want to thank you for your hard work, your dedication, your passion, your commitment. Like I said, it's made this community such a better place, and we are grateful. Just to close out the meeting, I will say it is an honor to serve my community. Those of you who haven't met me yet, I grew up in Scarborough. But 8 years ago, I found. Oh, Ula, did you want to say a few words, or afterward? Okay, no problem. So 8 years ago, I moved into this wonderful, beautiful community. YQNA is composed of people from different backgrounds, different lives, different experiences. We can see the diversity of people on this call tonight, but we have a commonality of living in a very bustling and busy neighborhood, and this is what connects us. So my intent as chair is to build on the foundation that Angelo and Ula and the entire team has built. Our organization is the voice for the place we call home, and we are the active voice for our neighbors. We need to continue the work that remains important, and you heard many issues from the politicians and the representatives from the many community groups. There's a lot going on. It is important it is vital, at least, for the livability of what I like to call Canada's most visited neighborhood. Because let's be honest, this is probably the most popular photographed neighborhood seen around not just Canada, but around the world. Over the summer, we're going to have discussions with our working group. We're going to enhance the structure of YQNA, again, building on the foundation that Angelo has led us to. This is going to include new opportunities for volunteers. We are going to look at coordinated advocacy on important issues, and we are also going to be looking at meaningful methods of bringing us together. So we're going to build on these meetings. Please keep an eye out for more information. And, Angelo said this, more importantly, please get involved. If you've taken the time to sit almost an hour and a half on a call this evening, you do care about your community, and we need you part of this team. So for a stronger YQNA, please reach out. I will put my email in the chat for you to contact me directly. There's also the YQNA email that you can email all of us at. So please volunteer. Please share your ideas. Help us make a difference. Carolyn gave a really good update. Please donate. If you can make a small financial contribution, this will help us go further in terms of the work we do. On that note, I want to thank Angelo again for his service. With all the tributes to Angelo tonight, and every guest speaker made mention of him, I know I have really big shoes to fill. I will strive to do my best to serve all of you. And on that note, our next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, September 17th. So if I don't see you before then, I will see you hopefully at that point in time. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night. And Angelo, thank you again for everything you've done for this association and our neighborhood.
Can I add a footnote?
Of course you can, Ula.
Thank you. Welcome, Ryan. We are really fortunate to have you. So thank you so much for stepping in.
Thank you.
and on fairly short notice. Now, I know a lot of stuff will come across your desk, and you did talk about having a vice chair possibly to
Yes.
help you pitch in occasionally. And if for some reason you could not chair a meeting, even do that as well. So you set that up, but I just wonder if we can ask people to consider being vice chair with Ryan. He's just as nice as the old chair, Angelo. So you have a good time and there's lots to learn. So if you are interested in being vice chair, click on the ideas and comments button on our website or go to info YQNA.
Yeah, that's the email, info@yqna.ca.
Thank you, Ula. And you're right. We need more hands on the deck, and we need more people helping us. So please sign up. I'll treat you well as my vice chair if you're interested in that role. On that note, now we'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you, Ula. Thank you, Neil. And again, thank you, Angelo. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.